We're back again with another Premier League Predictor, the series where I take on you guys in predicting the Premier League scores. And if anyone mentions the number 7 in their predictions, they don't count this week. Before we jump into anything, guys, please do hit a like on this video and subscribe to the channel as well. The road to 1,000 subscribers is fully on, and I'm hoping we can get there by the end of this football season, or at least the start of the next one. So here's a look at my Game Week 26 results, and I didn't do too badly. I actually got the Chelsea versus Leeds score completely correct, along with three other results as well. I had one person commenting on all of my shorts / reels / TikToks this week saying, "Oh, why'd you bother trying to predict scores? You'd never get any right," on a video where I got one of them right. So I'm a little bit confused about that one, but there we go. There's a lot of haters in the short form content. Fortunately, in the long form content, there's a lot of love, so I appreciate you guys for that. Game week total, I got 8 points overall, taking my season total up to 151. I definitely need to improve pretty drastically, but with the Premier League being the Premier League, it's such an unpredictable league. So I think full well, we're kind of doing okay. Let's see how you guys got on then. We've got Ben at the top of the league with 12 points. He had to get one back at Annie after she got top last week, and he's managed to do that today. Annie and Marbles came in with 9 points in second, and I was in third with 8. Jacklius with 4 points, Stuyman with 6, and Wilf with 3 down below. Remember, guys, if you want to get yourselves on the subscriber leaderboard for next week, you need to be predicting your results for the next game week in the comments down below. Jumping into game week 27 then, we've got our first game, which is Liverpool up against Bournemouth. Liverpool, of course, I think they performed pretty well last weekend. They got a decent result. I don't really seem to remember who it was against. I definitely don't remember the scoreline. But they're up against Bournemouth, and I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward win for them, especially if they manage to build on the momentum of their good performance last week. So I haven't gone for a ridiculous scoreline, like, I don't know, above 3-0. We've gone for 2-0. I've gone for 2-0 between Liverpool and Bournemouth. I think that with Darwin Núñez started scoring, Salah very much looks sharp again, and just their attacking force seems to be back to where we expect Liverpool to be. I think that they will steadily start to gain quite a few points now and probably cement themselves in the Champions League spot by the end of the season. Brighton got a 4-0 win against West Ham last week, and that's because I backed West Ham last week. Honestly, West Ham fans, if you want to pay me to predict that your team lose every week, then I guarantee you'll be top of the Premier League by the end of this season. But yeah, unfortunately for me, I can't predict a West Ham game to save my life. But Brighton did get that 4-0 win. They're up against Leeds this weekend, and they are away from home. But with Leeds, they did very well against Chelsea, actually. But Chelsea did manage to scrape out a 1-0 win in that game. I'm actually going to go for a Brighton win, though. I think that they're, as a team, just stronger. If you play Fantasy Premier League, you'll know that Brighton actually have a double game week this week, as do Brentford, I believe. So you want to get those guys into your fantasy football team if you hadn't already done so. As for Brighton, I've put them down to win 1-0. Another away win in our predictions so far this week. And I think that Brighton, as a football team right now, are just cementing themselves as a top half Premier League team. And I just can't argue. They're playing so well, which I just didn't think would happen after they lost their manager so early on in the season. Everton did manage to get themselves a point against Forest last week, but they're up against Brentford, who managed to grind out a great result against Fulham last game week. They're up against Everton, at Everton, but Brentford, again, are just a side that are cementing themselves as a top half Premier League side, and I don't think Everton are really going to have enough to see off Brentford here. I have put Everton to score 1 goal, but I've put Everton to win 2-1 in what is 3 away wins in a row predicted so far this game week. But yeah, Brentford 2-1 winners for me. I just think that they're a better side overall. Leicester are getting dangerously close to being dragged into a relegation battle. They're now only 2 points off the drop, and they've had 3 defeats in a row. One of which was against Southampton last week, which was extraordinary. This week, however, they are coming up against Chelsea. Chelsea won 1-0 against Leeds last week and have performed very solidly in the Champions League as well. Am I right in thinking they beat Dortmund, which was pretty impressive to say the least. They did get to take 2 penalties in a row, which I understood why it was given by the letter of the law, but I don't think people being 2 yards in the penalty box stopped Hazard, like Havertz putting the ball in the back of the net. But there you go. Is what it is. They're up against Leicester, and I've gone for another away win. I've actually backed Chelsea here. I think Leicester's recent run of form is too negative to ignore. I've gone for a 1-0 Chelsea win. And yeah, a Chelsea back? I'm not sure they're back yet, but they're certainly performing better than they were maybe a month or so ago. Now, I actually wrote these predictions down before I saw the Tottenham game against, was it Milan in midweek in the Champions League? I watched that game and Tottenham were awful. They were absolutely shocking. Getting a defender getting sent off when just the challenge did not need to be made, and then you're bringing on your what was it, 1-0 down in a knockout game, and you bring on a defender for a winger. I just didn't understand what Spurs were doing, if I'm honest. They're up against Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest have, they've performed reasonably well. Brennan Johnson is doing absolute bits at the moment. And I've actually gone for Spurs to draw against Nottingham Forest 1-1. I think Spurs are slowly sinking, and I think they're going to need a big change in the top of their club if they're going to see any difference for the next 2, 3, 4 seasons. I don't see Spurs winning a trophy. And I know that's a bit of a joke with Spurs anyway, but I don't see Spurs picking up a trophy for quite some time. So if I'm honest, I find it hard to back them in predictions at the moment. I've gone for 1-1 in this game, but for me, Spurs are in massive decline. Manchester City had an impressive win over Newcastle last week, and I don't think they're going to stop there. I have got them up against Crystal Palace here. I've got them winning 3-0 away from home. I still think there is trouble at City. I don't think the team are playing as well as maybe past Manchester City teams have, but they're very much having to play a different form of football now with Haaland in the team. And even though Haaland is obviously bagging lots of goals, I just don't think it works as well as it should be. And I'm not sure City have got enough to catch Arsenal by the end of this season, but 3-0 win over Crystal Palace is going to be pretty straightforward. But there's something about City as well. There's a couple of teams in the Premier League that I think personally are in decline currently. You've got West Ham massively in decline. You've got Manchester City, I feel like, are declining a little bit. Obviously not in some major crisis because they're still battling at the top of the Premier League, but they're not the team they used to be. Chelsea in decline. Spurs massively in decline. And that's why you're seeing teams like Brentford, like Brighton, like Fulham gathering some momentum and climbing up the Premier League and challenging the top teams. That doesn't happen if these teams maintain the form that they've had over the last decade. And City, for me, even though I think it will be comfortable against Crystal Palace, I just feel like something's changing there, and they're going to have to rethink how they approach their tactics, especially if they're keeping Haaland as the main man. I don't know if you guys realise, but Manchester United actually had a week off last week. I don't think they played. Someone can correct me, but I'm 99% sure Manchester United did not play last weekend. They have a midweek game against Real Betis that I haven't seen yet because I'm doing this prediction on late Thursday afternoon, so I haven't seen that fixture happen yet. But they're up against Southampton. Southampton did get a very good result last game week, but I'm backing Manchester United with this one. For some reason, I'm not feeling as confident as normal. I'm not sure why that is. But I don't think that Manchester United are going to be, as strong as before. So something's telling me that they're not performing to their best at the moment. I don't know. Who knows what that might be. I've got Manchester United to win 1-0 in this fixture. I don't think Southampton will cause too many issues. And so long as Manchester United manage to finish a chance or two, they should win this game. I'm sorry, West Ham fans. It's time to cover your ears because I am actually going to back your team to get points again. And every time I do this, West Ham United end up losing. Every time I predict anything other than a loss, West Ham lose. If I predict West Ham to lose, they go on and win. So I'm sorry, West Ham fans. I'm jinxing you yet again here, and I've gone with West Ham to draw against Aston Villa 1-1. Aston Villa did get a good result against Crystal Palace last week, but West Ham, for me, they need to get... I can't imagine West Ham not being in the Premier League, especially with the stadium they've got, for God's sake. I can't imagine them not being in the Premier League. Therefore, I have to think they're going to pick up points at some point. Aston Villa, a team for me that I think West Ham can get at least 1 point at, which is why I've predicted 1-1. Fulham and Arsenal are two teams that had very close fixtures last weekend. Arsenal getting an incredible 97th minute winner in their game, and Fulham losing narrowly to what are now rivals Brentford. In this game, do I think Arsenal drop points? I don't. I think that Fulham obviously are going to put up a really good battle, but I think the mentality of the players that Arteta has now built is far too strong to not win these tight games, especially with what they're aiming to do this season. They're aiming to win the Premier League, and in the Premier League, you need to win the games that are the tightest games if you've got any chance of being at the top. And I think that this will be a very tight game, but I've gone for Arsenal to win 2-1 away from home and maintain themselves at the top of the table. Newcastle United haven't won in their last 5 games, and they come up against the Wolves sides that are fresh off beating Tottenham. So you could argue that Wolves are in a bit of a better position here in this fixture. Newcastle, for me, are very much in decline at the moment. They started the season so strongly, and they have started to drift a little bit. I still think Newcastle fans will be happy if they finish 6th or above, but if they get European football, I think that'll be a win for them. But I don't think this fixture is going to help them in any way. I have gone for Newcastle and Wolves to draw 0-0 and be our board draw of the week. I just think that with Wolves having a little bit of momentum, they might give Newcastle enough trouble to stop them getting any goals. So here's a rundown of game week 27, my predictions for the Premier League this game week. We've got Liverpool to win 2-0 away at Bournemouth. We've got Brighton to win 1-0 away at Leeds. Another away win for Brentford against Everton 2-1. Chelsea to win 1-0 away at Leicester. Tottenham and Nottingham Forest to draw 1-1. Manchester City to win 3-0 at Crystal Palace. Man United to win 1-0 against Southampton. West Ham and Aston Villa to draw 1-1. Arsenal to win 2-1 away at Fulham. And Newcastle and Wolves to draw 0-0. So there we have it. Those are my predictions for game week 27 in the Premier League, guys. Let me know down below your predictions. I want to get as many people predicting every single week. So if you haven't predicted before and you're watching this right now, get out of your comfort zone. Come and have a go. You might even find yourself on the subscriber leaderboard. Thank you guys for watching. Hit a like if you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I'll see you in the next one.